Good Tuesday morning, everybody. Welcome to the Volquest podcast. I am Eric Kane alongside Rob Lewis, Austin Price, and Brent Hubbs. Appreciate you guys for being here. Tennessee is 4-1, 1-1 in SEC play. First bye week of the year, so no game coming up this weekend. But Tennessee will be back in action at home against the Hogs of Arkansas. Interim head coach Bobby Petrino, Sam Pittman's out. That'll be an interesting storyline to see kind of what Arkansas looks like coming to Neyland Stadium. But of course, we'll preview and look at that contest from every single angle later in the week and, of course, next week as well. Here on today's episode of the Volquest podcast, wanted to kind of do a self-scout, right? Tennessee's 4-1, 1-1. Where this team has been good, better than expected, where this team needs to improve over the course of the season, specifically use this bye week to try to get in that regard, injury status, all that and more. We'll start with a simple question, Brent. At this point in the season, is Tennessee where you thought Tennessee would be, record-wise, offense, defense-wise, all that and more?
I mean, record-wise, yeah, this is where I think everybody thought they would be. I think you feel like you should be undefeated. You missed an opportunity there. They're significantly better to me offensively than I thought they would be. It's funny. I mean, you go back and look and think about it. It's hard to say somebody's really stopped them offensively, more like they've stopped themselves. I mean, you go back to the second quarter of the Georgia game. That's more on Tennessee. There were open receivers. They just kind of lost their way for a bit. So offensively, they've been a lot better than I anticipated. Defensively, I think the injuries have shown up. This is not the defense we thought they would be in August, and it has shown that they've got to grow certainly defensively here over the next couple of weeks. And offensively, they've got to continue to put up points because I think this is going to win games. Tennessee is going to be in higher scoring games than they were a season ago.
Awesome, yeah, Rob. What do you guys think? Where you at on this?
They're exactly kind of where I thought they would be. I'm with Hubbs. They're better offensively, but again, I think we just didn't know a lot coming in because we didn't know what Joey was going to be. We didn't know what the receivers were going to do. I think both sides have room for improvement. To me, that's the positive thing through 5 games. Is as good as the offense has been, you could tell and say that they've left some points out there, and so they've got some chances to build on that, improve. Tennessee's running game the last few weeks has been a little bit of a, I don't know. To me, it's a little bit worrisome. We'll see. Arkansas couldn't slow down anybody, so like all of a sudden, can they slow down Tennessee's running game? That would worry me just a fraction on the offensive side. Defensively, I think it just comes back down to getting healthy, continuing to build quality depth. They've got to continue to build depth in the back end of the defense. Getting Caleb Beasley a handful of snaps the other night, getting Sidney Walton a handful of snaps the other night. Got to continue to build on that because they can't continue to play some of these kids 90 plays and it not be a hurt come November.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add. I mean, except maybe to emphasize how much better they've been offensively than I would have anticipated. Or I think just about anybody would have anticipated. I mean, who had Joey Aguilar, leading the SEC in touchdown passes, 5 games in, or averaging 290 yards a game through the air. So, I mean, that part has been wildly better than I expected. I just echo what Brent and Austin have said about the defense and needing to get healthy.
Here's the thing about defensively. I mean, we hope and you think maybe at some point Jamad McCoy is going to play, and we know Hobbs is going to be back, but there's not a safety to get off the shelf. Like there's not another one coming. I think the challenge for this team, Eric, for me defensively and offensively too, is how they manage themselves on the practice field. Because I don't think they're going to play a bunch more bodies when you get into the next 4 games. I don't think Walton's snap count's going to get elevated. He might play more against Arkansas, but I don't know that it's suddenly going to get elevated against Alabama and those 2 receivers that they have and what they can do in the back end, or against Oklahoma. I think this is a team that's going to play fewer bodies, a lot of snaps, much like they were in 21. And the question is, can they hold up, and how do you help them hold up from a recovery and game week management standpoint? I mean, I don't think Travis Smith is going to play, and it's not a knock on Travis Smith. I don't think he's suddenly going to play 35 snaps a game and relieve one of those receivers. I think they're going to play 3 wide receivers. I think we know who their 3 are. If they stay healthy, those guys are going to play 65, 75 snaps a game. Maybe I'm wrong. I just don't see at this point that I think there's going to be some guys who just play a high volume of snaps. And the challenge is going to be, how does Tennessee ensure that they are at their best on Saturday by not wearing them out Monday through Thursday or Monday through Friday? Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, tell me if I am, but it doesn't feel like there's just going to be this. I mean, a body or two here and there, but I just don't feel like they're going to play in some spots. They're going to play some of these guys more than what they're playing them to this point.
History tells you, especially at receiver, you're absolutely correct. The back end, I do think there's a chance that you see some of these kids continue to build on their snap count a little bit. What Sydney Walton play 7 or 8 snaps the other night. Same thing with Caleb Beasley. Can they build on it to where all of a sudden they play 14? Like, I think there's the possibility of that, because we've seen them, go from playing Jalen McCullough 725 out of a potential 743 snaps to rotating more. Then they went kind of back in that old Jalen McCullough route early in the year, and I think you saw that came back to roost in some games late when the safeties were just gassed. And I think potentially there's the chance to go down the other road where you at least, get you 14, 15 snaps out of some of these guys that will help relieve a little bit of stress in the back end.
When is that expanded cryo chamber going to be done? Is it done?
No, it's not done.
Because they need to be in there every day, right? They need to, they need to be in the
they need to put one in Bryson Easton's bathtub.
Yeah.
Well, I think what's interesting when you talk about this and you look at it, like, I don't know that they're going to do what Austin says at safety. We'll see. I mean, I think they need to. We'll see if they have the confidence to do that. But I think a big thing to note was how much they played Isaiah Campbell Saturday at Mississippi State. Does that mean Don Bailey's going to slide back outside when Hobbs gets there? Or is Isaiah Campbell going to – I mean, are they going to play 6 defensive tackles in there and leave Bailey inside, and they're going to rotate 6? I mean, maybe that's what they do. I think there's some places where they're going to be able to add depth. I think the other question is, are there going to be places where they're really willing against the competition that they're playing to force depth? I think Jack Van Dorselaer deserves more than 7 snaps, which is what he got at Mississippi State. Are they going to get comfortable enough to where he plays 20 snaps a game and Miles Kitselman's not playing 70? Will they make that leap against Alabama on the road, against Oklahoma, those types of things? I think that's for the next 4 games. I think that's an interesting sort of storyline to watch. Places we know where there's going to be some depth because they showed it in Mississippi State game. Austin, that was a pretty big commitment to play Isaiah Campbell 20 snaps. But are they willing to do – where else are they willing to do that, I think, is my question. I don't know. I mean, the linebacker rotation was fascinating to bizarre on Saturday. Jordan Burns came out of nowhere for me. I mean, he played more snaps at Mississippi State than he had played all season combined. And Jaden Harmon doesn't get on the field. That was – I did not expect that to happen. I think Spillman's coming. But how much do they rotate in some of these bigger ball games? It's easier to do at home, against Oklahoma and some of those people. But how much are they really willing to do that, particularly in the back end?
Yeah, I was fascinated by the linebacker rotation as well. I mean, again, like you say all the right things in the media, and you say, Jaden Harmon's got to get more run, this and that, and then you go with a kid that really hasn't played outside of some mop-up duty this year, and you've been unwilling to play him in front of a former walk-on and Ben Bolton, and things like that. That to me was a bit of a head scratcher, and he got significant run. I mean, for a kid that had never really played any kind of real snaps. It wasn't like he went in because somebody's helmet fell off. I mean, like he was out there in some crunch time moments. So I guess, how the coaches think, what they say and then what they do sometimes is 2 different things. And, I guess you just have to kind of roll with it and see what happens.
So obviously injuries, we talk about that a lot. You mentioned Hobbs. He should be getting back pretty soon. Jackson Moy made his return, which was great to see. Jamal McCoy, day-by-day thing, obviously. I know Arkansas has kind of been that game highlighted that potentially he could return. Do you guys see that as a realistic possibility? If so, whenever he does return, I mean, it's not like he's going to go out there and be playing 80 snaps, right? What's that rotation potentially look like with Hood and Redmond, who have played, 80 to 90 snaps a game?
I think, Brand, it boils down to, can he get on the field at some point this week in some team periods? You got to start. You have to get back out there with your team, not just doing some individual work on the side. When that happens, then I think he takes a massive step to getting back on the field for a real game. And as for a rotation, I don't know. What can you give him, 30 snaps to begin a game maybe? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't think he's going up there and playing 70. I don't think he's just automatically starting, but he obviously would be a nice help.
Well, that thing's in a holding pattern. You're right, Austin, until he goes out and does, until he gets to the next benchmark, which is practicing with his team, which he has not done. He's basically been doing for the last month what he was doing in fall camp when we saw him come out there for that first day. He's done more of it, but he's not done anything beyond that in terms of working out with his team. Does that ramp up this week? If you can get him back, Rob Lewis, to me the rotation's simple. You play him as many snaps as you think he can physically handle, and you help the freshman out, because Ty Redmond's, he's played more snaps in the first month of the season than he played in his senior year of high school, would be my guess, Rob. So that's where you're going to help. He's not going to spell Colton Hood. He's going to spell Ty Redmond, and you're going to play him as many snaps as he thinks he can, and as you think he can handle.
Yeah. For me, it's just all about conditioning. I mean, he's coming back, and if he comes back, it's going to be in the middle of October, in the absolute heat of the SEC grind. And so, yeah, whatever he can handle, give it to him. And Ty Redmond has certainly been thrown to the fire, but man, if McCoy does come back and does get in shape and is full time, Redmond is going to have benefited greatly, and Tennessee is going to have benefited from what he had to go through the first month of the season.
But again, this does not mean it frees out somebody to go to safety. Somebody was asking us in the Rocky Top Rewind a couple of nights ago, like, could you see somebody moving to safety to help out Turrenton and help out Farouk? That's not McCoy. That's not Redmond. That's not Hood. Boot Carter's not moving to safety. Kind of going back to what you said, Brandon. Feels like they got two guys that they're going to play. So how do you kind of manage that? Clearly, in a game where you played 85 defensive snaps or whatever it was, Caleb Beasley got 8 snaps. That's not a true 3-man rotation or a 4-man rotation with Sidney Walton right now.
No, it's a comfort level thing, and you want Beasley and you want Sidney Walton to continue to come along, and they certainly forced Walton as much as they could in the UAB game. And listen, would they have played Sidney Walton more snaps at Mississippi State had they been up 2 scores and had a 14 or 17 point lead, which was very realistic? Sure. And I think that's the thing you have to remember in all this, Austin, when you talk about where's the depth. If opportunity presents itself, and I don't mean it's got to be a 30-point blowout, but if you can get up a couple score lead, then yeah, you still a series here and there. I think that's what you're talking about, Tennessee trying to be able to do with those guys at safety. And you had the opportunity you thought you were going to have the opportunity to do that on Saturday. You just didn't make enough. You just shot yourself enough in the foot to where you put yourself behind the 8 ball for the entire game. You and I talked about it on the sideline. If Tennessee ever got up 2 scores, you felt like Tennessee was going to take complete control of the game. They just never got there, and because of that, it tightened up the rotation, particularly in the secondary, in my opinion.
Yeah, because Arian Carter is battling some turf toe, they rotated a little bit more linebacker on Saturday. He wasn't in as much. And you just kind of forced depth building. Now, how much does that help a guy like Jordan Burns and so on and so forth? I don't know why they can't do the same thing at safeties. Is my point where I'm taking it. It's just kind of, do some forced change back there. I just feel like some of the tackling, some of the angles have been suspect enough to where, does it really hurt if you put a younger kid out there and let him learn? Maybe it does. Maybe I'm just wrong, and that's fine. I feel like you can force it a little bit more. And again, you're right. If you could get up by a couple scores, it's just kind of like anybody that's kind of suspect injury wise. If you can get up, kind of comfortably, then you get them out and let the young kids play, and so on and so forth. Sometimes I think they just got to force it. Just throw them in the deep end and see what happens.
Obviously, this defense can get better. It's got to contain better. It's got to defend the run better. Tennessee did a really good job in the fourth quarter in the overtime period, allowing only 28 yards on the ground after just getting run all over for 3 quarters. That's got to shore up a little bit. Again, Tennessee's going to get healthier. One thing for sure that we know about this defense is it's going to be aggressive, right? I mean, they're going to force some takeaways. They've cashed in. I mean, Colton Hood has more touchdowns than some of Tennessee's skill players, right? I mean, like they're going to cash in and force some takeaways, and that's a good thing. This is obviously a team that gets after the quarterback as well. Already 20 sacks. Tennessee had 29. It was a Josh Heupel era low, 29 sacks last year, already to 20. Had 5 on the road at Mississippi State against an offensive line that's been beat up, but an offensive line that's played very well up until this point. Tennessee had 5 sacks, 11 TFLs. So those are signs where, again, you can manipulate stats any which way you want to, but you look at the 34 points given up. They had scoring drives of 17 yards, 23 yards, and 26 yards. They had short fields all over the place. 34 points. It's not necessarily all on the defense. They got to clean up a lot of things. I'm not saying they don't, but like the scoring defensive stat, it's not. I mean, they had to defend 5 yards against ETSU after Joey Aguilar messed up a snap in week 2, right? I think that stat's kind of misleading, but this defense is going to be aggressive, and it's been a very aggressive unit so far this year.
I mean, Rob, the stat for me that is the concerning stat for this defense is just the amount of rushing yards that they've given up at this point. I mean, Eric's right about the scoring stat. Those can be misleading. I mean, he gave it 21 points on 61 yards or 63 yards, something like that. But it's the fact that, Rob, teams have been able to line up and run it at Tennessee. Georgia had 198 yards rushing after sacks were taken out of that. Mississippi State had 198 yards rushing after sacks were taken out of that stat. That's the biggest surprise to me. You wondered about them in the secondary, right, with the injuries, but I'm surprised that they've given up some of the rushing yards that they have given up. I know they've been hurt in the interior, but I mean, both those teams, Georgia and Mississippi State, have got on the edge against Tennessee in the run game a lot.
Yeah, I mean that is me too. I mean, I'm piling on, and that's just because thinking. I get. Part of the upper is because I think we all had such high expectations. I mean, it's not that they're just bad. I mean, they're middle of the pack, but they have been the best in the SEC or one of the top 2 or 3 in the SEC in defending the run for the past couple of years. And you bring a lot of guys back from that front 7, so that has been surprising. I mean, and they're not giving up huge play. I mean, they're not getting gashed, but people are having just enough success that they're staying on schedule, and it's and not getting behind the sticks a lot. I mean, Georgia and Mississippi State both barely averaged 4 yards a carry, and I don't think Mississippi State wasn't there, but they're just having enough success they're able to be stubborn with it, and that's what Tennessee needs, those sacks, because they're not getting people in third and 7, 3rd and 8. So those 5 sacks on Saturday were huge, and they've got to kind of play defense that way because they're not. They're not dominating like they were last year. Man, they were making plays. I mean, 2 defensive touchdowns on Saturday. When you have to have 2 stops at the end, you get them, and one of them from the 5-yard line in overtime. So, it's frustrating to watch them sometimes, but dude, they dig themselves out of holes.
They're not on wood. If they can stay healthy, they can stay healthy, get Hobbs back. I'm wondering what this conversation is like when Oklahoma's coming to town the first part of November. How much does the run, being able to stop the run, improve over the next 3 games against Arkansas at home, Alabama on the road, and Kentucky on the road? I do think that there's the real possibility that it has marked improvement over the next 3 weeks if you can stay healthy and get Hobbs back. And I think being able to shift Don Bailey back outside more is a key to that. The ability to set the edge with him out there at strong side defensive end versus inside a defensive tackle.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Maybe, I mean, it's not going to fix everything, right? But maybe, that he's a defensive end to begin with. Maybe that helps with some of that contain and kind of setting the edge and playing a part in that. Because, again, I love his versatility. And, in fact, last week I kind of voted to keep him on the inside because Tyree West and Tyree Weathersby have been playing so well. And they need to continue to play. But with Tennessee not being able to shore up the run as well, I think Bailey back out there at end makes a whole lot of sense.
But it's the run thing for me is, I mean, you're going to give up some yards. I mean, let's not act like that. I mean, and I know none of you guys, but I mean, they weren't going to be the steel curtain, defensively. But I think what's interesting to me is that Georgia had 90 yards outside the tackles, and Mississippi State had almost 100 yards outside the tackles.
Not all ends too. Linebackers, stars,
right? And yeah, I mean, it factors in safeties. That factors a lot. I mean, they've just got to play the edge better in the run game. I mean, you're going to get popped every now and then in the run game for 7 or 8 yards, but what you can't give up the 12-yard run off the edge, or you can't let a guy bounce it out for 8 yards. That's something we haven't seen really happen at Tennessee with the run game. But boy, it's happened in these 2 league games. And again, I don't think there's panic there, Rob. I mean, it just, I think you said it best. The expectation everybody had was, hey, if Tennessee could score 28 points, they're going to beat everybody, right? If you got to 30, it's a landslide you're going to beat, because this defense is going to be, really good. And they've not been nearly what they were a year ago statistically, and particularly against the run when nobody could really run the football against them very well.
And without a ton of personnel, I mean, they lost some guys, don't get me wrong, but it's not like it wasn't just a wholesale, shift up front. And you brought back a bunch of veterans, I guess and yeah, I mean, the depth has been an issue. And it's not like they've been terrible. I just think they've been the best in the league the past couple of years, and they're not that. Right now.
That's a great point, because I mean, you sit here and it's like I'm writing the obituary for these guys. Like they're not. I mean, they're not. They haven't been helped. They've been given a short field, on multiple occasions. The thing, Austin, is if you could go back and if they stopped 3 third and longs, or 2 third and longs against Georgia and 2 against Mississippi State, we're probably having a different conversation too. That's the play that's the bugaboo for them, is they've given up too many 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 10s, allowing conversions there. It happened on Saturday in Starkville.
Yeah, it's like my golf game, Hubs. Like, it's play 14 holes, even par, and then make 4 doubles, and you still shoot 80. Like, I mean, like, you can play well for a majority of the game, but either whether it's the offense or special teams putting you in a tough spot, or you not being able to get off the field on 3rd down, the zone defense being just a touch too soft, all those type of things end up leading to 3 extra touchdowns here, extra 14 off short fields, and all of a sudden you've given up, 5 touchdowns, and it looks terrible when in reality, like, it wasn't as bad as it looked for a majority of the game. So, absolutely, they've got to tighten some things up. The offense has got to quit, turning the football over and giving opposing teams short fields to go against the defense, especially like Saturday. Think about it. You come out, you go boom, 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 and get off the field on that first drive. Defense looked fantastic. They had barely hit the bench. Their butts had barely touched the bench.
They weren't on the bench yet.
Okay, well, you're down there, so even better. I was just trying to be nice. The point is, it's like, okay, they had barely touched the white, and so they're going to go right back in. And I mean, like, how deflating is that? Like, you do your job, and all of a sudden you get shoved right back out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because we look at you sit here and you look at the run totals, and we talk about this and everything else. But I mean, Mississippi State goes 5 plays, 20 yards for a touchdown. Okay, they go 15 plays, 75 yards. That's a real drive. Tennessee gave up 4 third down conversions. You got to get off the field. That's on the defense there. 8 plays, 51 yards, a field goal. That's okay.
Yep.
Was your offense playing the way it is? You get a red zone stop there. You force a field goal. Hey, that's not the end of the world, right? And then it's a 4-play, 26-yard drive. That's a 4-play drive, right? I mean, and then it's a 6-play, 54-yard drive that gives up a field goal. I'm okay with that because teams are going to score. Then it's a 5-play, 17-yard drive. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I mean, it's interesting to try to determine through 5 games sort of what this defense is. They're not as good against the run as I thought they would be. You knew the injuries would affect them in the secondary, but I mean, are they bad? I mean, are they? Like, where are they? I think. I mean, the more you sit here and talk about it, the more you're like, well, I don't know. I mean, like, they're probably better than I give them credit for.
I
right?
think they're clearly better than anyone gives them credit for.
Okay.
Again, we get so caught up in box score stats and points on the scoreboard, and that's fair. And again, I'm not saying they don't have things to clean up. They clearly have things to clean up. But the fact that you are sacking the quarterback, the TFLs are all, which they always have been. TFLs are there, and gosh, man, you're forcing takeaways and converting on those. That weighs a lot with me. Now, third down defense atrocious. Fourth down defense atrocious. You've got to get off the field. Got to stop the run better, but they are making up for it in other areas. So still a long way to go, but I think from a standpoint of, is this defense better than what people are giving them credit for? 1,000% this defense is better. But just like we said earlier in the show, they've got so much room to improve, and that's a good thing. Let's flip the conversation over to offense. Hey everybody, welcome to the bye week. Can you believe already 5 games into the football season? Can't believe it. It's been so much fun to be partnered with BetMGM this football season. And when you join BetMGM, you're going to get access to a variety of parlay selection features like same-game parlays, live betting options, and so much more. And if you haven't signed up for BetMGM just yet, use the bonus code ON3, and you can get up to $1,500 in first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here is how it works. You simply download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code ON3. Deposit at least $10, place your first wager on any game, and you're going to receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure to use that bonus code ON3 when you sign up. Make this college football season one for the history books. Make it legendary. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus or older. U.S. promotional efforts not available. Offers not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369-NY. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP-AZ. 1-800-327-5050-MA. 1-800-BETS-OFF IA. 1-800-981-0023-PR. First bet offer for new customers only, subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use that bonus code ON3 and you're going to get $1,500 in a first bet offer today. So that is BetMGM. We thank them. Also want to tell you about our friends over at BRUNT Workwear. Choosing work boots used to mean sacrificing comfort or durability. If they felt good, they didn't last, and if they lasted, they wrecked your feet. BRUNT Workwear thought that was complete BS. So they built tough boots that feel great from day one, no break-in, no sore feet, because people out there doing real work shouldn't have to choose between comfort and durability. Man, I got me some BRUNT Workwear boots the other day. Look at, number one, look at how beautiful these things are. They look great. The insides feel amazing. I mean, it also adds about an inch to my height here, so a little bit more than that. So your boy likes that. But these things feel great. And when I'm out there staining the fence this past weekend, right when I got back from Starkville, staining the fence, I had these bad boys on. Felt great. No sore feet after. They helped me. I think they can help you as well. Brunt stands behind what they make. You can wear them to work. If they're not right for you, send them back. I don't know any other brand that does just that. That's a company that truly believes in their product. Right now, for a limited time, our listeners, get $10 off at Brunt when you use that promo code VQ at checkout. Just head on over to BruntWorkwear.com, promo code VQ, and you're good to go. Again, BruntWorkwear.com, promo code VQ, you're good to go. Brent and I discussed this a couple nights ago, Rob, on the Rocket Top Rewind, but in order to get the running game back on par in SEC play, if you're Darrell Sims, what are you doing? Is Deshaun Bishop your guy, 15, 20 snaps a game? Or is it still a two-man show? Are you still giving run to Peyton Lewis? No pun intended. What are you doing to get that run game back where it needs to be in conference play?
I mean, I don't have all the answers, but I think Hubbard wrote it in his review piece on Sunday. I'm probably seeing it, what Bishop and Thomas look like if they're getting 15, 20 carries a game. And that's no disrespect to Peyton Lewis, but I mean, I don't really feel like you know what you've got there. I mean, is there separation? And if Lewis deserves to be in there, that maybe he does, but I don't think that we know what either one of these dudes could do. I'm talking about Deshaun or Starr. If they got 18 carries, 20 carries, and the offensive line, I think those guys have been okay, but not not what they have been, not what we've expected from Heupel. And one thing that makes it a little surprising to me is they led the league, and part of it was Dylan Sampson, but still, I mean, in this league, I mean, they were great at running the football last year. Tops in the league, I think it was 220 plus. with nobody scared of the passing game, nobody. And this year, I mean, Aguilar's slinging it all over the place, and it's not really loosening things up the way that I would have thought, given the success that he's had. I mean, not just throwing it, but really pushing it downfield to where you would expect it to loosen it up, and it's not worked that way. And I don't know what the answer is, but I'm surprised that it hasn't complemented each other more when, we've seen what Josh's offense have done in 4 years, and we saw what they did last year without really, being married to a passing game that helped.
I think for me, Peyton Lewis gave you the opportunity to put him on the bench Saturday with the awful pass protection.
That's true.
You go back to LSU in 22 and Dylan Sampson. And listen, Dylan Sampson was a true freshman at the time. Peyton Lewis is not. He's a redshirt freshman or sophomore, whatever I don't know if he played 4 games last year. I can't remember. Either way, second year in the program. But Dylan Sampson got Hendon Hooker lit up. And same thing other than that with Joey Aguilar. And that's the stuff that can't happen because that derailed that whole drive. And so for me, I'm going with a 2-man rotation, and it is what it is. Those 2 guys are still seeing it better than Lewis. And I thought Lewis' first 2 runs the other night, Brent, were probably his best. I don't count the option where he just ran routes on or run on air last week. But I thought that as far as like 7-8 yard run where he looked like he saw it a little bit better. In that first drive he got in Starkville, I thought were 2 of his best runs of the year as far as vision and feet. And then he misses, that pass protection, and I just can't do that. I would roll with the other 2.
Well, I want to see somebody get in a rhythm. I don't feel like, and I don't know how you do that, right? Maybe you just say, hey, Deshaun's going to get the first half. It's not fair to start Thomas, or to start Thomas gets the first half. It's not fair to Deshaun Bishop. It just doesn't feel like this early rotation that they're getting in is allowing somebody to get a feel. Having seen Deshaun Bishop play for years, I think he's a guy who's always going to be better carries 15 to 20 than he is carries 5 to 10. I think that's who he is. I think he's kind of a body blow guy, right?
If he was in high school, from carries 40 through 45.
Yeah, I mean, I just think he just kind of keeps hammering it, right? Has he ever got into that kind of groove and that kind of sync? I don't know. I mean, the other thing too, and is this, and I don't know the answer to this, I'm asking this question. Do you think this is a product of they don't trust the run game? Do you think this is a product of what Joey Aguilar has been able to do in the passing game, or what? But Tennessee's averaging 12 less rushes a game than they did a season ago. Now, I know a season ago they didn't trust the pass game, so you had to run it more. Is 32 carries, 33 carries, whatever their average in there, is that enough? Are they too pass heavy? Could there be a better run game if they were maybe, quote, more committed to the run game? Or is, hey, you're averaging 40-plus points a game and nearly 500 yards of offense. Why are we having this conversation? Is that part of it?
I think, I had this conversation with somebody on Monday, and it's interesting, too. I mean, it doesn't feel – I don't have the numbers in front of me. Like, it felt like last year they obviously didn't trust the pass game. Your best weapon was Dylan Sampson, and they ran him 27 times a game, which was just incredible, right? It felt like they ran it so much. But how much more did they actually run it last year than they did to compare to 23 and 22? I don't have those numbers in front of me. The other day, I mean, Tennessee ran it 32 times. Star Thomas had 10 carries. Deshaun Bishop had 11 carries. It felt like Mississippi State ran it so much more because they were finding success. Bothwell had 23 attempts.
They did run it so much more. They ran it 25 more times. They ran it 57 times. That's why it felt that way. They ran
because for 3 quarters they were carving Tennessee up. Booth had 17 attempts. Bothwell had 23 attempts. Tennessee still ran the football. They didn't abandon that. I know that's not what you're saying. So I don't know. I guess, like, for me, it's sure maybe that goes into, like, Joey Aguilar is finding success in the passing game. You're scoring points. You're moving the football. I wouldn't be changing much of it. In my opinion, but maybe that has something to do with these guys not finding a rhythm a little bit. I mean, clearly they're not abandoning the run. The attempts are there, but they're just not seeing the fruits of those labors, early enough in football games. As the game's gone on, Star Thomas popped one against Georgia. Obviously, Bishop had the game winner in overtime the other day. That's good. Need some more of those runs earlier in these games to help your offense and to, help finish drives.
If any of us were forced to drive a go-kart from our house, I don't count Robbie, lives close enough, but the 3 of me, Eric and Brent, if we were forced to drive a go-kart to work for the last 2 years, and all of a sudden you got a V8 car, you'd be throwing it more too. Like they were riding in a go-kart the last couple of years, and so I think that's what. Are they getting pass happy? They probably are, but it's because, they couldn't do anything offensively passing the ball. So all of a sudden it's like, whoa, wait a minute. We can throw. We can drive 60 on the interstate now instead of driving 5. So that's where I look at it from.
Well, and that's a great analogy, by the way. But that's a great point. Because you're sitting here like, okay, do you want Deshaun Bishop, and it's not a knock on Bishop, do you want Bishop to have 20 carries, or do you want Brazel to have 5 more catches?
Yeah, give me Brazel 5 more catches.
Because it feels like Brazel can get open anytime, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like throw the out. Throw the 7-yard out. That's your run play. Raise up and throw it. That corner's playing so far off of him because they're afraid of getting beat deep. He's not getting pressed up. Raise up and throw it. Make that, that could be your run game there. And I think they're doing some of that, but I think they could do even more of that from that standpoint. It just is. I think part of this with this team through 5 games is your recall is what you saw last year. And what you saw last year is a team that rushed for 3,000 yards. Okay? This team doesn't have to rush for 3,000 yards, right, Rob? They had to a year ago to have a chance. They don't have to this year. And so Austin's point's right. Like, why, if you can get chunks, go get chunks offensively. And that's what they're doing. Do you feel like in watching them that Tennessee, that somebody's ever really stopped Tennessee, or do you feel like Tennessee's stopping Tennessee on offense, Rob?
I definitely felt that way on Saturday. Now, not necessarily maybe against Georgia, but certainly on Saturday. It was. If you go back, the biggest thing to me, in the difference in that game, and this is no disrespect to Mississippi State. I want to be clear on that. They played great, but Tennessee averaged 2 more yards per play than Mississippi State did. That's big. That's a big difference in an SEC game. It was like 6.5 to 4.5, and that didn't come close to showing up on the scoreboard. And that painted a picture to me, how much more successful Tennessee was, but they just, like you said, they just stopped themselves. Time and time again with just, a little hiccup there or hiccup here, and haven't turned the ball over 3 times like that in your own end. That's on the road in league play. I don't have the chart in front of me, but I bet you don't win many of those.
No, you're not going to win many on the road where somebody scores 21 points on 60 yards of offense. Which is what happened. That game reminded me a little bit, and I'm going to tell my age here, but in '94, Tennessee went down there and was clearly better than Mississippi State, up and down the field all day long, but they fumbled it 5 times. 5 times they fumbled it, and that's why they got beat. Tennessee turned it over 3 times and gave them gifts and nearly got themselves beat. And defensively, they countered it with the 2 scores themselves, but to go on the road and to turn it over in short field and give gifts the way they did and survive that is, you're right, Rob, that doesn't happen often, particularly in this league on the road. It very rarely happens. Again,
just to emphasize it even more, that's why the points per game scoring defense metric is just so misleading, because that's not on the defense at all.
So I want to ask about Joey I know we're going to get into the league here in just a minute, but I want to ask you guys about Joey. He's obviously been better than any of us thought. Joey Aguilar been better than any of us thought he could be. What do you want to see from him? A, what's impressed you the most about him? And B, what do you want to see from him kind of as he resets here? Eric, I'll start with you. Resets and gets himself into this next stretch of games. What's the next step for Joey Aguilar as the quarterback in this offense? Is there any real steps that needs to be made?
Gosh, man, I'm not going to sit here and act like he's been absolutely perfect, because nobody is. But, as far as, he's got to do this thing so much better, there's just not. He's running the offense. His throws have been looking good. His craftiness, his elusiveness, it feels like he's sacked at least once every game. He gets out of it and throws for a first down. That's just something that Tennessee hasn't had. I've been so impressed by him. I guess if I would say one thing, it would be to avoid the lulls, and that's not been just him. Nico had lulls, Hendon had lulls. It feels like in this offense, Joe, points and times in games, there's a bit of a lull. Minimize those lulls. Again, you're not gonna throw for 100% here. Minimize those lulls and be more try to be as consistent as you can be. But I mean, gosh, man, I'm not a quarterback's coach. Certainly, I'm not trying to act like one, but it's like he's been so good. He's not been perfect, but there's not one area of his game where I'm just like, gosh, man, like he's got to improve. Even like the deep balls, like the difference this year, Austin, and compared to Joe and Nico specifically the last 2 years. And somebody asked about this on the Monday Night Chat. I want to say last week. It's like, well, he's underthrown these deep balls. No, he's given these guys a chance to go make a play. Like, and he, by the way, he's hit them in stride several times. They've been dropped, and the one against Mississippi State. Then of course Syracuse was a beautiful one in stride. Like his balls down the field are giving these guys the opportunity to go and make a play. And man, that's just half the battle. And I've been so impressed in that regard as well. So I would say maybe avoid the lulls, but I mean, overall, in terms of taking a ginormous step forward, I don't have one, Austin.
No, continues to be impressive. Decision making. Your point about how he has avoided a negative yardage play and had them draped on him. He did that on that final drive in regulation the other night when he found Mike Matthews. I mean, just the strength to get that throw off, was really, really impressive. He is unflappable. He's very cool, calm, and collected. Just impressed by him. Again, I think the 24-year-old maturity is a real thing. I think that has helped him, and I think he's just enjoying everything about the offense, how they're calling the game. I think the coaching staff has meshed well with him, and can he be a little more crisp? Sure. I mean, what Eric said about the lulls is true. I mean, he can talk about his ball placement and stuff, but I mean, I don't feel like he still put the ball in harm's way where it's just been like, what were you thinking? Like,
I was going to say, Austin, like
throws, like the picks Nico made last year, and again, Nico was 19 and a freshman, redshirt freshman. Like some of the throws he made last year against Alabama when they got picked off, you're like, what were you doing there? Like, what were you thinking? He's not had one of those, in my opinion.
I was going to say at this point in the season, maybe preseason, if I was going to say, all right, let's project 4 or 5 weeks after 5 games, let's go to that first bye week. What would I say? Well, I'd probably sit here and say, man, you got to make better decisions. Turnovers are too much. Like, you got to make better decisions. We can live with some of these, but, the touchdowns are there, which is great. He's thrown 5 picks at this point in the season. If you're sitting here nitpicking and really breaking it down, you could make the case that 4 of those interceptions are not even his fault. Again, to your point, Austin, he is not making dumb decisions. He is not putting the ball in harm's way. He can make better throws potentially, but like one of those picks, the guy fell down. Another pick, the ball was batted up in the air for 30 seconds on a defensive pass interference that wasn't called. The 2 picks the other day, I mean, Miles Kitzman probably he did say, like, you need to make those catches, right? Like, he's not making dumb decisions. So, like, these 5 interceptions, I can live with those every single day. You know why? Because he's throwing for 335 and he's leading the league in touchdowns, I think. So.
Well, he's leading the league in passing yardage and basically didn't play in 2 halves.
No.
For a full game. He basically done it in 4 games to be leading the league in passing yardage. So, again, still room for improvement. I think it's kind of like what we talked about earlier with he and the receivers. There is room for improvement, which is scary for everybody else and a great thing for Tennessee.
I mean, for me, the numbers are bonkers, and I don't have a lot to add to you guys, but to me, the poise with Joey is off the charts. I mean, he's played 2 SEC football games, and both of those football games at the end of the 4th quarter, his team put the ball in his hand and said, hey, we need you to take us down the field and put us in a position to win. He did it both times.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, 300 yards at Mississippi State's the first time a Josh Heupel quarterback has thrown for 300 yards on the road since Kentucky in 2021 with Hendon Hooker.
And it could have been like close to 5.
It could have been 500.
Yeah, it could have been 500. His game is like Austin's golf game. Okay, he hits 14 fairways dead down the middle, and he'll hit 2 balls right off the end of the first cut, but it's still plenty playable. He's not snap hooking it into the water. Like Austin's always in play. That's Joey Aguilar's football game. I mean, he misses it a little bit here or there. He gets a little bit off, but it's never it doesn't feel like it's something really catastrophic. Like what was he throwing that out? That was just a walk-in touchdown for somebody, or man, that was triple coverage there. I thought the second interception at Mississippi State, I did not think that was his best decision because I think that defender, I think he was trying to squeeze it too tight in a window there. Okay, I mean he went Austin Driver off the deck on that one. He probably should have went somewhere else with that ball.
the difference between Mike Gawkim and Joey is Joey can hit the deep ball. I'm more like AJ Suggs, checking it down off the
Check down Charlie, baby.
And Hubbard, this goes hand in hand with all that. You wrote what the stat of the numbers were, what he was before that last drive. I mean, he hadn't been throwing it well, and then he goes out and he's 6 for 6, and he just doesn't let stuff affect him. And I think that's part of being 24 years old. But he wasn't in a great rhythm before that last drive at all. I mean, he'd missed some throws, and the interception with Kitzman had happened not long before that. And then he goes out there and he's just bang, bang, bang on point.
He does a terrific job resetting, Eric. He does as good a job as we've seen of a quarter. And I think that's the 24 years of age deal. But he does a great job of resetting and putting, next play. He has very much a next play mentality about him, which I think helps the rest of the team, because I think that's part of the leadership that some people – kind of go about that way. I mean, think about it. I mean, Mike Matthews drops a wide open touchdown, but he comes back and he makes some they came back to him and he reset and played. I mean, Staley fumbles the punt, Tennessee's first offensive possession. They go right to him and he makes a play. I think Joey's demeanor helps guys on offense sort of reset. Like it's not a big deal. Just go make the next one. And I think that's been of benefit to a young offense. That's where his maturity and leadership has really played come into play.
Yeah, you probably see it firsthand on the sideline, but I found it interesting the first 5 games, like going back on the rewatch, like when a mistake is made by him or a turnover offensively, or they didn't get the third down conversion or whatever. It's just steady Eddie, man. Like you would never know that he just threw for it was 21 points in the first quarter against Georgia. You never know. Again, it's he doesn't let the ebbs and flows of the football game affect him, which I think is really, really good as the leader of your offense. We can take a look at the SEC here in a moment. I know we're kind of up against it, but real quick before we move on from Tennessee, I want to get Austin and Rob your thoughts on this. Tennessee's offensive line. David Sanders comes in. He plays a critical part in that game-tying touchdown drive there. Had the false start, not great. Tennessee was able to overcome it with another Braylon Staley play where he fought for the sticks. Love that. Is this the bye week to where you utilize, all right, Jesse Perry, you're the right guard. Wendell Moore, you're flipped back over. And David Sanders, you're right tackle. This is what we're going to roll with. This is what it was going to be game 1. It just took us 6 games to get here. Is the bye week the avenue to get back to where you were going to go to begin the year? Or do you just sit here and say, man, offensive line's been great. Let's keep it the way it is?
Yeah, I think they're going to switch back. I mean, I just don't see any way they're leaving David Sanders on the sidelines and saying, sorry that happened to you. He's not getting wally-pipped, in my opinion.
I had to present the option.
Sure, I get it. But it does present a nice buffer 2-week pad for them to be able to work him in, continue to pad. All you can say is David Sanders has played 1 drive Hubs and they scored a touchdown. So he's 100% on the year when he's been in the game on Tennessee's scoring efficiency.
They ran right behind him.
They did on that last play. You're right. It just feels like to me that's where this goes. I mean, maybe they don't start him against Arkansas, but I guarantee you he ends up playing multiple series. Would be shocked if he doesn't.
I think that's what they're going to do too. And I mean, I've said it all year long. He's first round draft pick. You play first round draft pick when he's healthy, and he's healthy. So I think that's where they go. To me, Rob, the question is, does Glenn Ellerbe finally do what he's talked about for 3 years? Does he rotate on the offensive line? Like, does Sham, like, what guard are you going to take off the field if you play 6 linemen? Or do you just end up locked into 5 linemen, which is what he's done during his time at Tennessee, in part because he hasn't had the bodies to do that? Or do they rotate there? I mean, Sham's certainly not been bad by any measure. So I think, to me, that's the one interesting question is where does Sham factor in? Do they rotate at the guard spot? I'm not taking Wendell Moy off the field, and I'm not sure I'm taking Jesse Perry off the field either at guard, which is unfortunate for Sham. But I think if you can get back to where you were in your best 5 all summer long and all preseason camp long up until Wednesday morning when David Sanders got hurt, Rob, I think you get there as quick as you can get there, right?
Yeah, that would be my thought. And again, I mean, it's unfortunate for Sham, but like you say, with Ellerbe, he's always, he's talked a lot about having a rotation. Now you get the perfect opportunity to do that. And I mean, I would lean towards thinking what AP said is how it'll play out.
Look at the SEC as a whole, man. It's wide open right now. You've got couple teams that are undefeated in league play or undefeated as a whole. A&M's undefeated, Vanderbilt's undefeated, Missouri's undefeated. Alabama has come back to life. What a win in Athens, 24-21 over Georgia. Georgia now with one loss. What do you make of this league right now at this point in the season? And Tennessee's Ole Miss is 5-0, and Ole Miss had a big win over LSU. LSU is absolutely underperformed, specifically offensively. Where does Tennessee fit into all this mess, Austin? As you kind of move on into week number 6 of the season.
I think they fit perfectly into it. The question is how many games can they go out and win between now and the end of the season? I think, for Tennessee, you've got to take care of business at home. That's a necessity and a must. And then you have to go out and do something you've not done since 2003, and that's win at either Alabama or Florida. And if you can get to 10-2, I think you've got a real shot to make the playoffs. I do think that a lot of these schedules, a lot of these teams across the Big Ten and the SEC, they're sitting there undefeated. I don't think they have a juggernaut schedule. The question is, can a team like South Carolina, who was woefully bad the first month of the season, can they find their footing enough to play spoiler in a year like this? They're gonna be, to me, an interesting team because they play Oklahoma, they play Alabama, they play Ole Miss, they play Texas A&M, and they play LSU over the next 5 games. That is a murderer's row of games, but they could be a spoiler in one of those 5 teams, especially. I'm going to tell you, LSU, I think, is a paper tiger, no pun intended. And I've said that from the beginning of the season. Oklahoma, though, Alabama, Ole Miss, and Texas A&M, one of those teams, I want to say, loses to South Carolina. And likelihood could be Oklahoma. Is Mateer back by that point? That game's in Columbia, South Carolina. They're going to find their footing in some form or fashion, and they're going to have that come-up game, even if they're still not as good as they were a year ago.
I think, too, Ole Miss always drops. Typically, it's on the road. I think that, if I saw the schedule right, Ole Miss will be hosting South Carolina. Ole Miss always loses a game that it has no business losing whatsoever. Yeah, that game's going to be at home at the beginning of November.
Back-to-back road games, Eric. Georgia and Oklahoma.
It's true. Yep, that's tough for the Rebels, no doubt. Ole Miss, I think Ole Miss is intriguing. Austin Simmons was not good to begin the year. He got hurt. You bring in your Division II quarterback, and he's throwing for 300 yards and winning games in league play. I think Ole Miss is really, really interesting. And then I think a team that nobody's even talking about is Texas A&M. And Mike Elko goes off in this post-game press conference essentially saying he's not trying to sound like somebody else, Brian Kelly, talking to the writers there, but trying to get them to write positive stories or whatever about A&M's start. I'm not sure I like that from a head coach. But nonetheless, A&M's winning some football games as well. To me, Brent, it just feels like this league it's so wide open. There's not one juggernaut. There's not one Alabama or Georgia like we've seen in recent years. And that, the parity makes things fun. And to Austin's point, a chance for teams to play spoilers down the stretch because so many teams can beat so many teams in this league.
Yeah, I like A&M's schedule. I mean, that road game at Missouri, but I mean, I like the way, they got a couple more at home here. Arkansas away doesn't, if you're A&M, shouldn't scare you. LSU, where they at the end of this month. I think A&M's schedule sets up pretty decent for them, to be honest with you. When you
3 straight road games, though, it's weird.
Yeah, 3 straight road games, which can be challenging.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's necessarily the worst schedule when you look at it. Here's what we know about this league. What we know is it's getting ready to be an October bloodbath. I mean, Rob, they're just going to beat teams are going to beat the death out of it. I mean, it's
going to be carnage.
Yeah, I mean, everywhere. It is the NFL for the month of October.
I was looking at it last night. Just not all of it, but just Tennessee and a couple other. And it's however, it's going to be brutal.
And everybody built this first weekend of October as in, hey, catch your breath and then let's get going because there's no games this weekend in the league. Game day's going to Alabama, Vanderbilt. No, and that's not a knock on Vanderbilt, but I mean, this is not half the league's off this weekend. But then you look at the rest of October, and I mean, you talk about moving day, separation Saturday, whatever moniker you want to give it. They're just going to beat the death out of each other here for 3 weeks.
What could have been a good game won't be, but it could have been Texas at Florida, but that game's not going to be good. Well, I don't think it'll be good, right? What's Texas look like on the road?
Who knows? But you get 9 SEC teams in the top 16 in the AP poll this week.
Yeah. I mean, it's like basketball. Like, you know what I mean? The whole league is there. And it's going to be wild in October because, again, it's going to be very NFL-like. I think you're going to see a lot of close games. I think we've already seen a lot of close games, not a ton of routes in league play. And who can manage the clock, who can manage personnel, who can make the critical play, down the stretch is going to be the one that comes through. I mean, look at Georgia, right? They failed on 4th and 2. They don't win that game. And should you have kicked the field goal there to tie it? And, that's a debate Georgia fans are going to have for a long, long time. Tennessee found a way to escape and get out of there with an overtime win. That's a huge win because you can't drop that one. I mean, you just can't do it when you look at what's in this league that you got to deal with.
Hey, Megan, pull up the Florida schedule. Because, again, we talked about South Carolina. Florida's another team. Could play spoiler for Tennessee. Lord knows the Vols have had their house of horrors down there over the years. But, look at that. They could play a spoiler to Texas, Texas A&M, Georgia, Ole Miss, Tennessee.
Or they could lose all of them.
Or they could lose all of them.
And I think that's the interesting thing about this league is you can look at some people and go, hey, they can knock them off. They can knock them off. Or they could go on a 4-game skid.
Yes.
That you could win them all or you could lose them all. And I think when you look at Tennessee's next 4 games, look, you're playing a mobile quarterback against Arkansas. You're playing a mobile quarterback, a guy who can run and buy time with his feet, and Ty Simpson, who's obviously everybody can stop writing his career obituary because he can play. Okay. And then Oklahoma's going to come in here and they're going to have Mateer and he's going to run around. So how does Tennessee handle a mobile quarterback? That's the defensive storyline for the next 4 games that Tennessee's going to play, in my opinion, because they haven't really played a mobile guy. We thought Stockton would run some, but he really didn't. The Green kid's going to run a bunch for Arkansas, and Simpson can run some. So how does Tennessee's defense handle a mobile quarterback for the first time this year? Because you're getting ready to find out.
And specifically from Florida, again, Florida offensively just a train wreck. Again, coaching change, it feels like it's going to happen. But don't forget, Florida's got a really good defense.
They're a talented team. There's a reason a lot of people thought they were a playoff team in the preseason.
Florida's 2025 season is unfortunate for Florida fans because that defense is so good. So that's something to pay attention to. I know we got to go around the room. Let's go tempo here, not rapid fire. Let's go tempo here. Arkansas makes a change. Is that scarier for Tennessee, if you will? Because you can go one of 2 ways. You can quit. You can rally around the guys in the room, Petrino, the quarterback, and all that. Is it harder for Tennessee now with Sam Pittman gone and Petrino in, or would it be easier for Tennessee if Sam Pittman was still at the helm?
Defense is still bad. Bobby Petrino scored 13 points as the offensive guru on Saturday against Notre Dame. But I do think it gives the team the shot in the arm. They got to bye a week. They're going to say all the right things. They're going to feel good coming in. That's why the start in 12 days is so critical. If you get off to a quick start, then Arkansas is going to go. Whereas if you let them get a little momentum, they're going to feel like something. They're going to feel like they've changed, even though they probably haven't.
Yeah, what are they defensively? They fired the coordinator. They fired 3 guys on defense today. I mean, and not a surprising move that Bobby Petrino's cleaning some house over there. But, for Bobby Petrino, he's going to put everything he's got in this one because he wants the job. And he's made it very publicly known that he wants the job, and this is his audition. So I think if you're Tennessee, you got to be ready for anything and everything. Was Sam Pittman holding him back in any way offensively? I don't think so. But Bobby Petrino is going to do – he'll be a wild horse rider, Rob Lewis. He'll do everything in this – maybe wild horse rider is a bad analogy. I shouldn't have used that term. But he will do everything he can to impress the Arkansas brass for this job because he wants this job.
Yeah, I don't think it's a huge deal for Tennessee, but I think from the Arkansas perspective, it probably removes a monkey off their backs. I think those kids were probably pressing because I'm not inside there, but I doubt that those guys wanted Coach Pittman to lose their job, and I would imagine it affected just the preparation, feeling anxiety. So I think for a positive for Arkansas is I think they'll come in here. And it probably freed them up to play loose and just with nothing to lose. But I just, there's a reason their coach got fired midseason. It's because they're not very talented.
Petrino's going to ride in on a hog. We all know that. He's been known to do it for years. And he's just trying to avoid Rob's, post-game, tweet that that picture of him in the neck brace.
All right. Last thing before we call it quits, give me one thing Tennessee has got to hone in on. Tennessee's got to focus on this bye week this week before getting back into game week for Arkansas. Rob?
I mean, I'll just say tighten up the run defense, and I don't know if you can. I mean, I think so much of that is the injuries, but we talked about it a lot. And again, they're not bad, but just for what the standard has been here the past couple of years would in defending the run, it's not been up to that standard.
AP?
Just spend the whole week in the cryo chamber, and get healthy. I mean, at the end of the day, avoid some weird Wednesday injury next week. I don't think anything happens this week, but just continue to try to bring the young guys along. Use these reps that they've gotten as teachable moments.
And Brett, that's why mine I don't think is going to happen because you can't get hurt. Boy, this team needs to tackle, and they're not going to do that. So that mine's not even worth mentioning, but mine would be tackling.
Yeah, mine's setting the edge because you're going to play some guys who can run around and get outside you. So I think you got to work on tying that part of your run game in a little better. They were much better at it in the fourth quarter and in overtime. Mm-hmm. They've got to build off that in their run defense. They've got to set the edge and not let the outside run be as effective as it's been through 2 conference games.
All right, about an hour in. An hour-long podcast on the bye week. Look at us doing our jobs, right? Brent Hubbs, Austin Price, Rob Lewis, appreciate you guys for being here and listening to us, hanging out with us. We'll be on the General's Quarters all week long. No game, but plenty of coverage over at Volquest.com. Recruiting coverage, basketball practices start, fall baseball's happening right now. Loads of conversation. The #1 Tennessee online community out there that is on the General's Quarters at Volquest.com. Come hang out with us. Come join our family. $1 for your first 7 days. $1 for your first 7 days. You can join us at Volquest.com. Again, for Rob Lewis, Austin Price, Brent Hubbs, I'm Eric Kane. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Tuesday morning Volquest podcast.